friends, and welcome to episode 104 of Did You Bring the Hummus podcast. I'm Kimberly, your host, and I am super excited to be here with you today. Did You Bring the Hummus is a podcast for all things vegan. Episodes post every Monday on your favorite podcast app. Before we get started, I have one very important question for you. Did you bring the hummus? Do you love the podcast? Want to help me keep it going? Visit the Support the Podcast tab on my website to learn more. Join me on alternating Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern for an hour of meditation. Sign-up options include individual sessions, a monthly subscription, or a 10-session package good for 6 months. I have joined forces with Jennifer Shlomovich of The Confident Vegan on a project, That Vegan Morning Show, which airs on YouTube every Monday at 7 a.m. Eastern. Join our mailing list and get a free recipe ebook of some of our favorites. Today, I am joined by Tara Stone. Tara is a speaker, holistic success coach, and passionate advocate for conscious living. Her journey into veganism began with a deep-rooted love for animals, leading her to years of hands-on experience in animal rescue. This commitment to compassion naturally evolved into a plant-based lifestyle, inspiring her to found Grounded for Life, a plant-based cafe dedicated to nourishing the body and soul with good food that tastes great and just so happens to not have animal products in it. With a background in real estate, business coaching, and leadership development, Tara helps high achievers move beyond burnout and into sustainable success, both personally and professionally. She empowers entrepreneurs and executives to align their work with their values, prioritizing well-being, impact, and purpose. Through her work, she has helped countless individuals shift from the toxic hustle mentality to a more intentional and fulfilling way of living. Tara's expertise spans across mindset coaching, workplace culture transformation, and accountability, making her a sought-after speaker and consultant. Whether she's leading executive retreats, coaching high-performing teams, or helping individuals build habits that align with their holistic success, her mission remains the same: to end suffering and empower people to create a life by design, embrace struggle as a gift, and fund the life they love. Hey, Tara, welcome. I'm so glad you're here with me.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you.
So let's just jump right in. Tell me about your vegan journey.
Oh, and it has a journey. Journey it has been, and a journey it remains. I like to kind of roll all the way back. I grew up in a really Italian household. We did not wake up and have pancakes in the morning. We woke up to the smell of garlic and sausage and peppers, and there was food, and cultural food was a big central part of our life. And in my early teenage years and my late, probably around I guess about 12. We also lived with my Italian grandmother because my parents divorced. We moved with my grandmother. So now I've got my Italian mother and my full Italian grandmother. And of course, I'm cooking as soon as I could reach the stove. I would come home and make pasta for myself. But I always had a real affinity towards animals. I think like most little girls, there was a Shel Silverstein poem that talks about this little girl who dies because her parents don't give her a pony. And I used to I used to recite that to my parents because I really wanted to have a horse. I would see, animals, and I would think of ways that I would pretend that they would show up at the house and they were lost, and convince my parents to let me keep them. And I got introduced to horse rescue at about age of about 10.
Mm.
And I had been writing, right? We're going to have a little talk about this, I'm sure, in the rest of the podcast. But I had been riding horses, taking lessons as a young girl. And I do say it kept me out of a lot of trouble. I would, there's just really no time to do much else, but very proper English and showing. And then when we moved, there wasn't really money for that anymore. But our neighbor happened to know this woman that owned a horse rescue, and this was up in Connecticut. So I started volunteering. And back in that time, even though we could still slaughter horses today in the United States, there's no funding. The USDA doesn't fund it. So there's no one to go and oversee it. So we don't, we now ship to Canada or Mexico. And then of course we also export to companies like Japan, countries like Japan. Um, that's a whole other podcast in itself, because now animals are going through much more significant transport. And then the slaughter processes look very different, especially in Mexico versus Canada. But we would get papers to go pick up a horse that got, someone didn't pay their board at the stable, and the owner sold it for, 19 cents a pound, whatever they could get from that, but it was illegal. Courts would get involved. As a rescue group, we would have papers to go in and pick up one animal. So at around the age of about 10, 11, I'm going to these smaller slaughterhouses and, already not wanting to eat meat, but going in and really just seeing it and feeling there is a sadness, a deep sadness inside of, even outside, the energy resonates outside. Um, and that was very big for me, because, out of sight, out of mind is very true. So, here when you're seeing it, and it's not just horses, and a lot of people are outraged when they know that horses are being slaughtered, but fine when it's a cow or a pig or something else. But that really forged me more into vegetarian, right? So I moved into the vegetarian world, and I ate, more than my brains of butter and pasta and cheese, and um but I felt good not eating meat.
Mhm.
I used to feed, if there was meat on the table that like my parents wanted me to eat, I used to feed it to my dogs, like under the table. I remember I sat next to a plant. I used to make holes in the dirt of the plant and like put my meat in the plant. I mean, this is to the point where my mom came down one time, and I had definitely fed the meatballs to our German shepherds, but said that I didn't, and she had the dogs' mouths open. She was like smelling, I smell meatballs. So I did my best to still be a good little Italian girl, and but eat how I wanted to. So started cooking more for myself, and was very happy living a vegetarian lifestyle. I then went back to pescatarian. So was, having fish and things like that. And to be honest, until I had my son, who I wanted to raise plant-based, until he could understand what it was he was eating, till he could understand that an animal would have to give their life up. And of course, as a mom, I wanted to like really hope that he would stay the course. But it was important for me that until he could really understand his decisions, that we raised him that way.
Mhm.
So, but I was still eating dairy and eggs. We had our own chickens, so I would eat eggs from my chickens. Not eating any meat. Um, and my son was probably about 3, and he says, "Mom, like, I don't understand. Why do you eat fish? We don't eat animals."
Hmm.
And I'm like, "You're right." There's literally there's nothing for me to say, other than you're right. And I really thought about it, and I just said, this doesn't resonate with me anymore. Yeah, I like how it tastes, but I know too much.
Mhm.
And you once you know something, you can't unknow it. You can always make another decision, and I was choosing to make a decision. And it took my little, 3-year-old to ask me that question. And I was like, if I'm modeling this, then you know what? I'm done. So then it was really back to vegetarian. And I had done a lot of research, had a lot of breast cancer in my family, and understanding about whey and casein, and the China study had a huge impact on me. And meanwhile, even though I knew the information, I was still consuming all of these carcinogenic, cancer feeding
Mhm.
ingredients. So I I am now in conjunction with wanting to have a place for my child to go where they can order anything on the menu and feel normal. Because now he's starting to, kind of be made fun of a little bit at this point with eating plant-based, vegan. He was very proud to wear his vegan shirts,
Oh.
and um, we we were actually driving down the road one day, and he knows what the slaughter trucks, and there's a lot on 78 here, and we're kind of always hopeful that they're empty. And we go past, and he looks up at the driver, and he's in the back seat in his car seat, and he says, "That's a bad man."
Mhm.
I said, "Well, buddy, he doesn't think what he's doing is bad." Here I am defending the slaughter truck driver. He doesn't think what he's doing is bad. And then he says, "We have to kill him."
Oh.
I almost drove off the road. Like my son became possessed with some amazing activist possessed my child's body. We have to kill him. I said, no, we don't do that. We don't kill people. And I said, we can talk to people. He said, Mom, you and I both know you can talk to people and they still don't listen. And I was just like, I have created this amazing little critter who just it is so far-fetched for him to be consuming animals, and he
Mhm.
doesn't even really love animals that much. He just doesn't understand why something would need to suffer for him to eat when he has such a plethora in front of him.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I wanted to create a space that he could go, and I had this idea for restaurant cafe. I wanted to call it Grounded for Life, which was, grounded for grounding into the earth, and for life because nothing was going to die to be there.
Yeah.
And I had so many eggs from my own chickens, and my brother owns a coffee shop, and my family's like, "Well, you have to have milk for people." And I'm like, "Okay." So I order in all this organic milk, and I don't know, maybe it was day 4 or 5, and I walked into the walk-in, and I'm like, "No, like,
Mm.
I'm not doing this. I don't believe in this, and this is not healthy for people. I believe it's not healthy for people, and I wanna please everybody, but I'm not doing this." So I called my brother who has the coffee shop. I'm like, "Do you want all of my organic milk?" He's like, "Sure." And we pulled it within the first week. And I never labeled the cafe vegan. I'm very weary of labels that don't allow for some breath in it. So, and quite frankly, I wasn't living a vegan lifestyle um with consuming the eggs. Now I could be like, they're my chickens, I know how they're taken care of, all of the justifications. Um and eventually, well, that's a whole other story. My ex-husband locked a fox inside of the hen house.
Oh, no.
Yes, I was flying to Miami for work, and they were like, "Oh, there's something wrong down at the hen house." And we had a great rooster, Cluck Norris. Um, a young fox had gotten locked in like our Fort Knox of a hen house and killed all of them. It
Oh.
was just like horrendous. And that was the end. I was like, we're not doing this again, and it was never really what I wanted to do begin with, but my ex-husband really wanted it, and it was an interesting experience.
Mhm.
But that ended the eggs because I wasn't going to purchase eggs, and at that point, the cafe really became vegan, and and that's really where I really started to ask myself, what am I doing in my life that would prevent me from using or adopting this vegan label. And I've talked about this. There's all sorts of different levels. I do have horses. I haven't ridden either of them in a very long time. But they were both going to slaughter. They were both going to be meats. Um, I've also sold a lot of real estate to, a lot of the equestrian worlds that, all ride with lots of tools,
Mhm.
I'll say, that I don't necessarily agree with. So, if my guy is meandering me around the woods, I ride bitless. There's a lot of people that be like, that's not vegan, don't call yourself vegan. And there's a lot of vegans that would be like, yes, we secretly do that too, and I've had those conversations that happen. Um, so I am always kind of asking myself, right? Like, do I get to use this label? Do I get to call myself this?
Mm.
Because, you know, people love to watch.
Yeah.
So, um, there's definitely some people that probably wouldn't agree with me, and there's probably a lot of people that are like, wow, she does a lot more than I do. And I try to really talk about the difference between plant-based and vegan. And
Mhm.
vegan is not a diet, is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Um, so my journey is always continuing. I my mom will be like, "Why do you go and do the bear witness, right? You already know what's going on." And I'm like, it just continues to deepen my conviction.
Yeah.
And it continues to deepen. I don't need a platform or a soapbox. But when I'm challenged, or when someone, just loves to throw out all like, sorry, I'm going to eat this hamburger. It's so good. It's so juicy. Sorry. I'm like, you don't have to apologize to me. Um, but it's amazing how people react, and it's amazing how people act. Um,
Mhm.
and my boyfriend is not vegan, and I will not probably ever cook meat. And I'm like, if you want to, like, that's like, I'm not looking to change everybody in the world. Would I love for it to happen? Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. Um, but I sent him a picture of a downed cow that I saw in Newark
Mhm.
at the Halal Bear Witness. And I'll spare some details, but she was downed, she couldn't walk off. And USDA allows them to be dragged from point A to point B. And if they remain alive, then they are clear and good to go for meat consumption. They could have tumors growing off them, like a million different things. Or they can be slaughtered where they're at. And that's what these workers decided to do. And a lot of these cows are dairy cows. So when everyone thinks like, oh, they're happy cows, I'm vegetarian,
Mhm. It's
um,
enough.
I'm sorry, this is graphic. I'll try not to make it
No.
graphic, but the
Okay.
workers came on and they did disembowel her on the truck, and her unborn baby, who was alive and totally formed, came out. And it was the craziest, most wild visual of these two slaughter workers covered in blood. They weren't crying, but they were like hit and hugging each other
Mm.
over this cow and this baby that's like, what's going on, and all of the manure. And I'm just like, you know uh, who said it, Al, or Simon Garfunkel, no, who the heck said it? If slaughterhouses had glass walls, we would all be vegetarian, is what he
Yeah.
said. And I think we would all be vegan if we really understood the process, if we really understood everything. And that's just from the animal welfare side, not even the environmental side, not even the human rights side, because this is such a human rights issue.
Yeah.
Um, so it started off because I loved animals. I was far from perfect, vegetarian, pescatarian, back to vegetarian, now vegan. And like I said, I'm always questioning myself. Like, I feel confident I will never eat meat again.
Mhm.
I just have no desire to. But it's all the other things about the vegan lifestyle. Like, am I really living that? Am I really only supporting the things that I, believe in? And it's effort.
Yeah.
And it takes being open to, sometimes you just don't realize. Like, I didn't realize this company was doing this.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So being open enough, and that's where I really value the vegan community that is open to imperfection, where people can say like, oh, hey, you posted something like, hey, go buy this, or go support this company. Did you know they're doing this and this, animal testing, whatever it may be, without like just destroying you.
Mhm.
Because I definitely had that experience online, socially, many, many times. And I'm like, man, we're getting it from both sides. We're
Yeah.
getting it from the vegan community, and we're getting destroyed from everyone else, and all the idiots that post bacon
Mhm.
underneath the, the thing. Um, so It's been a really amazing journey, and it continues that way. And I did sell the majority of the restaurant, and I said, I will keep my partnership as long as you stay 100% plant-based. Um, it's not easy. Nothing vegan gets subsidized.
Mhm.
It's the meat and dairy industry. So when we're looking at restaurants right now that are really struggling and food costs are going, skyrocketing, if you really understood the industry and you understood what these plant-based restaurants and the vegan and even vegetarian restaurants, there is very little support from the government. So now, a hamburger patty is like 19 cents, which is why McDonald's can sell it for 99 cents.
Mhm.
Whereas, even if you're making a plant-based patty and you're using organic, non-GMO ingredients, you're still looking at $2 to $3
Yeah.
versus 19 cents, 30 cents. um so a passion project. My dog just came in and is licking me.
I saw her
Yeah.
tail going, yeah.
Yep. And just cool things like being in Whole Foods, and they in the Whole Foods in Bridgewater has the meat section, and sometimes there's an animal hanging there. And I remember my son looking over, because as a mom, you're always wondering, I set him up for a lot of kids make fun of him. Like, they'll throw his lunchbox,
Oh my gosh.
like really wild stuff. And that's been for really since he was about 6 or 7 years old. Um, Adults and children.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember him looking at, it was a half of a cow hanging there. And he looked at me and he's like, "Mom, I'm so glad that you raised me this way."
Oh,
And then I was like, "Oh my gosh,
I
thank you."
love
Like, yeah, I know. He's just the best.
that.
Well, here's a funny little story. We were we I was married at the time. We got home really, really late, and Alexander wanted to be hang out in bed with us. So we're like, sure. So an Arby's commercial comes on, and it's the Arby's. "We have the meats." I don't know, maybe he was 7 at this point, and, he was sitting there watching it, and I think I told you guys this. The commercial comes on, and it goes off, and he goes, "That's a stupid commercial." I'm like, "Yeah, buddy, I agree, it's really stupid." He goes, "Can I swear?" And we kind of like his dad and I look at each other, and we're like, sure." And he goes, "Fuck you, Arby's."
Yes.
So we're both like, "Okay, great inflection. You used it perfectly, but like
Yep.
you can't use that word." But the FU Arby's became quite a funny thing in our family. And you know, I set the stage and I started him on the path, and he is just super content. And this kid deals with a lot. When you see a little kid, not having the cupcakes at the birthday parties, or peeling all of the cheese off of pizza and eating some sauce and some bread. And so many parents have been amazing with making sure that there's something for him. But it's anything I've gone through, and this, 10 years ago, there was nothing. If you could get a
Mm.
green salad, you were lucky.
Yeah.
So I mean, now there's so much more, and now it's even, I think, harder to have a healthy vegan lifestyle, a
Yeah.
healthy whole food plant-based lifestyle. Um, so that's the journey. The journey continues. We'll see where it keeps leading, but I do my best to be in integrity every single day with where I'm voting with my dollars, what I'm bringing into the house, but also leaving open space for conversations and people to have their own journey. And the cafe was a big eye opener for me. I would see people coming up the steps. I'm like, "Oh my God, they're going to realize this is plant based. They're going to turn around and walk right out." And they always shock me. They're always like, "Oh no, we know, we want to try this."
Ah.
Um, when Game Changers came out and they did the experiment with the erections overnight,
Mhm.
all of these guys started coming in the cafe, and you would see them standing there in front of the boards, and they would be like, "What should we get here?" I'm like, "Let me guess, you watch Game Changers?" They're like, "Yeah, how'd you know?" I'm like, "Because, animal suffering, destroying the earth, can't rampant cancer, and I don't care, but longer, harder erections, like, I'm in. What should I eat?" But I love documentaries like that because it allows for people to not shut down. Because once the animal welfare stuff comes in and they start, I've watched Dominion, it took me multiple times to watch it.
Yeah.
If you're not there, your brain just won't stay open to learning. So I'm grateful for documentaries that are focused on that.
Mm.
And, I hope that they become gateways for people to start truly understanding more about what it is that they're paying for.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I love that. I feel the same way. I'm super torn, right? Because I want people to just like wake up and make the change.
yeah.
But I know that even when growing up, I didn't eat vegetables and I hated them. And I would declare to anyone, I don't like vegetables. And
Mhm.
I would just eat like cheeseburgers and turkey sandwiches. And I was like, I could live on this. If I never had to eat anything else, I'd be fine, and pizza and whatever. And then I decided the story that got me to go vegetarian was about a downed cow
Mm,
in an issue of PETA's Animal Times. And I
mhm,
had read the whole thing cover to cover, but the story that really made me go, oh no, I've got to stop, was a story about a down cow. But I didn't make the dairy connection.
mhm,
So I stopped eating animals overnight and nobody believed that it was going to stick.
mm.
Everybody was like, all right, we'll see. Kimberly doesn't know how to cook. She doesn't eat vegetables. We'll see how long this lasts. And here we are, almost 25 years later. Haven't
Awesome.
eaten an animal since.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. You reminded me too when I was talking about the down cow. I had said to my boyfriend, I sent it to him and I said, generally he's like, I'm really sorry I'm eating this. And I'm like, listen, it's okay. But I'm like, when someone says to me, oh, I love that steak or I love that, I don't think of steak. I think of her. I
Hmm.
think of her laying there. I think of her eyes looking at us. I think of like it is so much deeper. And unless you've been able to make that connection, um, it's easy just to, you can have the best of intentions, but whatever's easy, whatever's in front of you, or oh, I like that. Um, there's a lot of people that are vegetarian that actually liked the way that it tasted at some
Hmm.
point in time.
Yeah.
And now it's repulsive, but we
Yep.
didn't stop eating it because we didn't like how it tasted.
Right.
Um, it's and that's where you need those deeper, that story, that
Mhm.
image, that reality check.
Yeah. Yeah. When people apologize to me, my response used to be, don't apologize to me, apologize to that chicken, to that cow, to that pig.
Yeah.
And now, if they say it, I kind of decide if I'm going to say something in response. But when I decide to say something, it's usually, what is making you feel like you have to apologize to me?
Yeah.
And then we can have a conversation about it. Like, are you feeling guilty? Do you just think that I'm not going to like you anymore?
Mhm.
Am I judging you? Like, or is it like deep within you, you're like, oh, she's she's making me think about something that I know I really need to think about.
Yeah. It's mirroring.
Yeah.
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 Oh, it's we impact all the time,
Yeah.
right? It's and I really don't believe that there's really any neutral conversations. We're either impacting positively or negatively. And I've gone the hardcore route, right? I've been so defensive. I've been
Mhm.
so disgusted. I've been so angered. And now I'm just like, "Ooh, cool. If I can have a conversation with you and like you can say whatever nonsense you want to say to me because I've heard it all before. You think
Yep.
you're going to shake me? Like you're wrong." And I'm going to nod my head and I'm going to plant some seeds. And when we do the bear witness, people will be like, "You know what? For today, I'm not going to eat meat today in honor of what you're doing." So if I just for one day save some animals
Mhm.
from and I cause some people to really think about what it is they're doing and putting into their body and what they're paying for, then that's a win.
Yeah.
That's a win. And the people that want to fight you on it, like, I don't have the energy anymore.
Right. I know.
God, I would get so worked up and I'd be back and forth on Facebook and then my crew would jump in and annihilate the person. And I'm like, this is not like this. I'm coming from love. I'm
Yeah.
coming from love. And now there's hate all over
Mhm.
this. And like, this is not what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
That's been really one of my biggest lessons
Yeah.
in this journey. Yeah.
Mhm. For me too,
Yeah.
at 20 years old, shouting from the rooftops, "Stop
Mhm.
eating that. What are you
Mhm.
doing? Do you
Mhm.
know what they are, how they suffer?" And giving them
Yeah.
a whole rundown. I remember I was at a, like a county fair type thing in Staten Island with the guy I was
Mhm.
dating at the time, and we had just started dating.
Mhm.
But he had been straight edge vegan like before, and then he had kind of stopped being vegan. So he was aware of what vegans and vegetarians can be like sometimes.
Mhm.
And we're walking down the line of food, and I was still vegetarian, so I was looking for something with like cheese or whatever.
Mhm.
And people were serving you the food, and someone tried to serve me chicken. And she
Mhm.
was just so happy. She's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh no, I don't eat anything with a face." Stared her right in the eyes. And she was like, oh my God, what?" And like totally threw her. And
Yep.
then the guy was like, "Okay, keep it moving, let's go." And
Yeah.
I I don't mind. We'll find something else for you to eat. And I think about that now and I'm like,
Yeah.
I really could have had a different interaction
Yeah.
because she probably told that story, figured out, or somebody told her, "Oh, she's probably a vegetarian." And
Yeah.
now maybe I'm the only vegetarian this woman had met until that
Yeah.
point. And now she thinks we're all assholes.
We're all crazy. Yeah. I have learned that, just asking for something that I would eat. I was just out in, Jackson Hole, Wyoming. It is snow as deep as can be. It's like meat everywhere. And I was in a conference room and there was a kitchen there and they were preparing. I'm like, I'm an idiot. I don't have a protein bar. What the heck am I gonna eat? And I don't ever want to make a big deal about it, right?
Mhm.
Especially when I'm working with the companies because I'm like, I don't want them to judge me. Um, so I went and I said, will you have anything that has no animal products? I'll say that instead of say vegan.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, is it an allergy?" I'm like, "Well, no, it's just, how I choose to eat." And so she said, "Oh, are you vegan?" And I said, "Yes." She was making barbecue. It was barbecue. And she goes,
Mhm.
"How about barbecue jackfruit?" I'm like,
Oh
yes,
my
please."
gosh.
So I was so afraid to ask, which is silly because I'm such a proponent of asking.
Mhm.
I No way in heck did I think that was going to happen. I was fine to have some salad without the ranch dressing. Oil and vinegar, fine, I'll take it.
Mhm.
And out pops this amazing
It's
barbecue
incredible.
jackfruit. And then what I really love, people are like, "Oh, well, where did you get that? How did you get
Mhm.
that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's vegan. It's jackfruit. Would you like to taste it?" And then that's the coolest thing where people are like, "That
Yes.
looks so good. That looks so good." Um, and then it just like opens up the doors. But yes, like, well, what if it was your dog? Would you serve it to me if it was your dog? Um, we have all the little comebacks that now just kind of stay in my mind unless you push too far and then I'm like, all right, now I have to put you in your place because
Right.
now
Yeah.
you're just being an asshole.
Mhm.
And I don't care if you're vegan or vegetarian or carnivore, you don't get to be a jerk like that to
Right.
people.
Yeah. One of the things I love is if someone in my life is either they think it doesn't happen as much anymore, but it used to happen where someone new would be in my life and they think it was fun to like make jokes about being vegan or whatever. And then I would take them to a vegan restaurant.
Mhm.
And every single time at some point during the meal, the person would say to me, if all vegan food was like this, I could be vegan. And now, like you were saying before, there's so many options out there. Now my answer is, well, you can.
Mhm. It's
So
everywhere.
what's your excuse now?
Yep. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Um, with a cafe, I just always wanted it to be food that tasted good that just happened to not have animal products in it.
Mhm.
Right? Because people's walls just shoot right up the moment that, they see vegan or
Yep.
anything like that. And Yeah, that and then people are like, "Wow, it has flavor." I'm like, "Yes, this is what food is actually tastes like when it's not, drowned in salt and butter and decaying flesh."
Hmm. Yep. It's they no, and also the realization that the food that they're currently eating, most of the flavor is coming from the spices and the seasonings and that kind of stuff. And then they're like, oh, wait, I can replicate those flavors because the spices can be
Yeah.
used on vegetables or tofu. And then it like, whoa, this whole new world is open. And
Mhm.
like, if you're curious about food, then it's really easy to like get somebody into like, all right,
Yes,
let's try out all this cool stuff.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, how people feel. My I have we have a podcast. My partner's he's like a personal trainer, fitness, wellness, but very carnivore, right? And that's like this weird dichotomy in us.
Yeah.
Um, and but one of the things that we'll often talk about is that people actually don't know or don't remember what it actually feels like to feel good. We're
Mm,
so used to living in like these food coma states and just inflamed and just not functioning at a high level, but it feels so normal. And then all of a sudden you start cleaning up your diet. Of course, I think, do it a plant-based way, and you start you start getting rid of inflammation in your body. You start getting rid of brain fog. You start getting rid of that just deathly feeling after you eat this big, heavy meal. People have forgotten what that feels like because
mhm,
they're just eating fast food. We're eating so much processed. And when you start to feel like, wow, food is actually fuel,
mhm.
and I feel good after I eat this meal. I don't feel gross. I hear that all the time. Wow, I feel so good. I feel satisfied, but I don't feel stuffed.
Yeah.
Um, then you start to go, oh okay, my body feels better. Okay. You could
Mhm.
you could hate animals, but if you're like, my body feels better eating this way, well, great. Whatever it takes to get you there,
Yeah.
explore that.
Yeah, 100%. And then you can learn about all the other stuff along the way. And I think the food is a really great gateway
Mhm.
because we have to eat 3 times a day minimum, right? For most of us. And so that seems to be like in the forefront of people's minds. Oh, vegan means like I've got to eat this certain way, but it does encompass so much more than that. And it's the philosophy behind it, it's the products that we use, it's the things that we do, the choices we make day to day. And I really like how you emphasized early on when you said, like, I'm always still learning and it's a journey and the journey is still going because there's just so much. We don't live in a vegan world.
Mhm.
We humans use animals in ways we can't even imagine, whether they're being used for work or parts of their bodies are being used. And you learn, like, you could be vegan for 30 years and you find out that some practice is happening somewhere that is somehow connected to something you love to buy. And you're like, oh no, this
Yeah.
thing that I've been buying, like, does that mean I can't have called myself vegan for the last 40 years? No, no, no. It just means like now you know. And when we know better, we do better. So we just
Yes.
have to, yeah.
Yep. You just always got to keep that open mind. And
Mhm.
I mean, gosh, the innovation that has come from, and it's really been a movement, right? It's no longer just, and God love them, that but it's no longer just the tree hugging hippies out there, right? And
Right.
that's what everyone used to equate it with. You've got so many different walks of life that are either adopting a whole food plant-based lifestyle, which then opens up to thinking about animals and wearing animals versus not wearing animals. Certainly cosmetics, being tested, and then there's a whole, the medical conversation.
Mhm.
um but it does open the doors to these things. And again, once you know better, we hope you do better. A
Right.
lot of people know better and they still make the same choices. And I'm like, listen, that's your decision.
Mhm.
Um, just stay open to at least taking in the information. Um, my partner was, because I've been trying to lose 50 pounds for since my son was born. And it's frustrating. And I'll often feel like I am a bad representative of a vegan lifestyle, right?
Mhm.
It's a guilt.
Yeah.
Um, and I eat really freaking healthy. And I hated, I had such an anger towards protein until I met Rose Lopiano, who's got a great program. Because I was so everyone, where do you get your protein? Where do you get your protein? I was so angry at protein. I'm
Mhm.
like, we don't need all this protein. And then meanwhile, I realized like my body was holding on to everything. So I went from eating maybe, I don't know, 30 grams of protein today to like 120 grams of plant-based protein a day.
Mhm.
My body started shedding weight.
Hmm.
I have a hard time eating that much protein, and some of it I can't eat. So I have to be specific about where I'm getting it from. But my partner, who I respect a tremendous amount, he's super smart, and he's like, "All right, fine. Like you don't have to eat meat, but what about like butter and like eggs? And the chickens are so happy, and they have this." And like I love him for him trying, but then
Yeah.
when you know better, meaning like deeper, like, well, did you know that all the female chickens that ended up there, there were probably, if there's 30 there were probably 90 male chickens that got put through a grinder because they weren't ever going to lay eggs. Like
Yeah.
you,
On the
people
day they
aren't
were
aware.
born. Yeah.
Exactly. And people aren't aware of that, right?
Mhm.
Or the milk thing. Yeah, maybe this cow lived a really happy life. Maybe there's a bull in the field and she got to have sex and she got to have her baby and keep her baby and nurse her baby, and they just took
Mhm.
the extra milk. Paint me the prettiest picture possible.
Right.
I still saw her on the slaughter truck floor in the manure getting her unborn baby cut open from her because she couldn't walk because her body was so used,
Yeah.
right? So I'm sorry, there's no happy milk, there's no happy eggs, there's no
Mhm.
happy chickens, there's no happy steak.
Mhm.
And they could have the best. If I said to you, I'm going to take your dog, your puppy. I'm going to give it the best life. I'm going to love it. I'm going to feed it really well. And, but then I'm going to slit its throat and I'm going to put it on the dinner table and serve it to you. That's
Yeah.
okay, right? Well, oh my God, that's horrible. Why would you say something like that? Well,
Mhm.
every time you say to me, these are happy animals, that's as crazy as me saying that to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I love that. That's a good one because it immediately makes people like puts them in that situation and it makes it so much clearer because people love their dogs. They love their cats.
Legitimately love them.
Yeah.
Like they're members of the family.
Yep.
And we take pigs that are way smarter than dogs and
Mhm.
we do the most horrific things to them
Yeah.
because hashtag bacon, right?
Right.
Bacon fest. It's but it's marketing. We're very fleeced. We see the happy animals.
Mhm.
The government likes to keep us sick. They like to, it's a big conversation.
It is a
And-
huge conversation. We need like 3 more hours, and it's too late for us to go on for that long.
Yep. I don't have a
Um,
problem talking, so I got to cut myself off.
going back to the comment you made about feeling that your body didn't look the way people expect your body to look as a vegan. I can't tell you how many times, and this still appalls me and like blows my mind that people are just so like it's still so okay to feel a certain way about fat people that people find out I'm vegan and they look me up and down
Mhm.
and will say things like, "Oh, I would have never guessed that." Or things like, "Are you vegan like in front of people? Like do you eat like cheeseburgers when nobody's looking or are you like, Ben and Jerry's every night?" And like maybe sometimes but it's the non-dairy one.
Vegan,
Um,
non-dairy, yes.
but it is incredible to me how we still are so willing to be so cruel to other humans because their bodies look in a way that we think they shouldn't. And then when you think about if somebody could be that cruel to another person, what are we capable of when we're looking at a member of a species that isn't ours and that we've decided has something that we can use? And it is just horrific and awful. And I try so hard to see the good in people, but some days I really have a hard time.
Yeah, it's challenging. It's
Yeah.
it's it's challenging. And Those are the gifts that allow us to go, like, I have it tattooed on me, Veni, Vidi, Amavi. Instead of we came, we saw, we conquered, it means we came, we saw, we loved.
Ah,
And when I find myself kind of getting like, I want to be reactive, or I want to be a little nasty, or I want to put someone in their place about something, I will take a breath and ask myself, am I coming from love right now?
mm,
And am I perfect in that? No, but I'm really, really good at it now because I'm like, this is tattooed on my body. If I'm not willing to live this way, and I'll just take a breath, and I'm like, if the answer is no, then I change how I'm responding.
mhm.
And maybe I just don't respond. Maybe I just say, "Hey, good luck," and I
Yeah.
move on. But there is nothing more powerful than love. And there is nothing more powerful than living your truths.
Mhm.
And I believe that we will impact so many more people through that versus force feeding, for lack of a better term, our knowledge
Mhm.
onto people that aren't ready to receive it yet. They're not there yet.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
my ex-husband was still eating some meat. He had taken a lot out, and we were at a house, and there was a baby calf had the farmer down the road, the mother rejected it. This woman took it. And I remember looking at his face because he was petting the baby calf. They try to suckle on everything. And he was like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh. And then he looked and he pulled his hand away and he goes, oh, I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, I am such a hypocrite.
Mm.
It was that little baby calf just kind of like looking up at him with those big eyes and suckling, that in that moment he was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, and we all need those moments. You
Mhm.
you don't get there without your own personal experiences with it.
Right. Yeah. And like I think as people are learning or discovering things that we're doing and maybe like they start to learn about animals and how we treat them and how they go from, being born to the slaughterhouse and then to their plate, I encourage people to think about how they feel. And I don't necessarily mean that they're like, "Oh, I feel guilty," or it's not that clear. When you are coming from a place of love and you are engaged in something that is not coming from a place of love, even if you can't put your finger on it, there's a feeling. You start
Mhm.
to feel out of alignment, if that's a word that resonates, right? Or you just feel like, something's weird. And like, I just encourage people to really dig into that because what it means is that your vegan is ready to come out.
So your vegan is showing. I love that. I love that. Yeah, honor yourself.
Yeah.
Honor yourself. And if you have children and they have a predisposition to like not want to eat the meat that's in front of them, or they're questioning it, be honest with them. Or maybe be like, okay, sh- I remember sitting many times with tears running down my face. My grandmother was pretty convinced I was going to die because I didn't eat meat.
Uh,
I mean, she meant it. She was doing it out of love.
yeah.
But I mean, it's traumatic.
Mhm. Yeah, and, like, I was feeling a little sad about, your son with his lunchbox being thrown away, being picked on, but when you look at kind of the way the world is, he's kind of he already knows how to stand tall for what he believes in, how to be who he is no matter what anybody else thinks, but then also he's learning kind of how to deal with these conflicts,
Yeah.
and, as adults, conflicts come up, and the people who can manage them they're honestly just better off in life as a whole.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now I don't feel as sad for him because I know it's building, this
It's
different life for
building.
him than
But
other
when
kids. Yeah.
when he comes out of school and I see, like, as soon as he sees me, the tears are, like, right there, but he's waiting
Oh.
to get in the car, and he'll just be like, "I don't understand why people don't like me just because of me." Like, and, um, there's some cool things out there with, kids giving kind of one-liner comebacks, but that's also not been his style either. He doesn't wanna have to have a comeback.
Mhm.
Um So, yeah, I'm continuing to learn through him, and I'll ask him, "Hey, like, do you want it? Do you think you want to not eat vegan?" He's like, "No, I love it. I'm so happy." I'm like, "All right, cool. So we'll see how long it goes."
Yeah.
But I feel proud that he understands and
Mhm.
that he I've never taken him to like slaughter stuff or shown him intense things. He just doesn't need it.
Yeah.
He's just like, I get it.
Mhm.
I'm not missing anything.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. And he's like always been 95 percentile, tallest kid in his class. Like he's a well-fed, well-growing kid. He's never been malnourished in his life. He also eats platefuls of broccoli happily. So when your kid will only eat chicken nuggets and my kid is eating 17, 20 different types of vegetables and, steamed rice and nori sheets and he's loving it, I'm like, okay, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say.
And
Tara,
to F you, Arby's.
No, that's right. F you, Arby's. Tara, I could talk to you all night, but I've got one more question for you.
Yes.
How does hummus show up in your life?
I couldn't wait to answer this question because the podcast name is Did You Bring the Hummus? And I went out to dinner with my boyfriend the other night and we got hummus. And we left the restaurant and the waitress comes running out. You forgot the hummus. She packed it up and he looked at me. He was like, oh, you have to say that on the podcast because he knew it was the thing. I was like, we didn't bring the hummus because we almost forgot the hummus. The hummus then fell in the parking lot. And of course, I'm not wasting the hummus. So I wiped off the little bit of road spices it had on it. And I finished that hummus yesterday.
Nice.
But hummus shows up in my life in a million different ways. And I have the most gorgeous red beet hummus sitting in my refrigerator right now. Just thinking of how beautiful food is, from nature and everything we have access to. And if all else fails, you can pretty much always find hummus.
Yes. Tara, thank you so much for being here with me tonight. This has been wonderful.
Welcome. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for being with me tonight and for having this platform and bringing all the amazing ideas to light that you do with all of your guests.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome back. To connect with Tara, find her on all social media at _Tara_Stone. I hope you found this episode helpful and inspiring. Please subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're loving it, please give Did You Bring the Hummus a 5-star rating and leave a review. It's an easy way to keep supporting the show. Be sure to share these episodes with your friends. If you're finding something good here, they will too. If you're a vegan or know a vegan who would be a great fit for the podcast, follow the Be a Guest link in the show notes. Fill out the quiz and I'll be in touch. Get on my mailing list and stay up to date on all things Did You Bring the Hummus. Get more info on how you can sign up for a meditation, one of my programs, or to support the podcast via the links in the show notes. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Did You Bring the Hummus, and visit my website, didyouBringTheHummus.com, for more information about me, updates on what I'm working on, new podcast episodes, and all things vegan. Finally, I would love to hear from you. What do you need help with? Is there a topic you want to hear covered on a future episode? DM me on Instagram or send me an email at info@didyouBringTheHummus.com. Thanks for listening.